Hi, it's Joe with Blackout 911. How you like our new name? Pretty cool, huh? We're here today to show you a pretty elaborate build that we did for an EMS agency. And it's 99% Code 3 equipment with a lot of stuff going on. So we'll do an in-depth one here. The first thing that I wanted to show you is we have an OBD module tied into the Code 3 Z3 matrix box. And that is the brains of the whole outfit. And the OBD, we can tell it to do a bunch of different things. For instance, we have tied in when you open the door, whether it be the driver's door or the passenger door, we have it turn on the running board lights and also the under mirror lights. And that does that independent on the left or the right side. The other thing that happens using the OBD in the back, the little red lights up above turn on automatically whenever the back hatch opens. So the OBD is telling it what to do. It knows what to do. All the controls for everything are in a pull-out, not only a radio, but all the equipment drawer, which is all in the back here. This is the main code Z3 matrix box. We have a switch node in here that gives us 16 more channels. We have one of the radios. There's actually 3 radios in here. There's 2 UHF radios. One of them is remote. Actually, 2 of them are remote, but we mounted one back here and one up front. And the other is a VHF remote. We also have, of course, the drawer, equipment drawer that pulls out above it with the foam that can be cut or whatever. And we like these. This is made by a company called Rockland. And they make a really nice mount. If you notice, when we do the install, we have everything on terminal strips. So it's very easy to troubleshoot should anything go wrong. Our fuse box has LEDs that if any of the fuses blow, the little red LED will come on. So it will tell you immediately, that there's a problem somewhere, and it'll even tell you which one it is. So the controller is once again, it's a Code 3. It's divided into 3 definite divisions. The first division is basically your 3-position slide switch that everyone that knows about. And then all your siren tones and everything are on the left. In the middle are all the lights. And on the right is more lights, but it's all the rear stuff, like the arrows and so on and so forth. So it's easy to get through. Now this particular vehicle, in addition to the siren, we also have a low frequency driver that there's another big speaker mounted underneath the hood that really penetrates through walls and intersections and everything else. We'll give you a little tour of that once we get going here, but I'll put on position 1 just to show you. Now position 1 is rear. The other thing I wanted to say, we'll customize whatever the customer wants. We don't have cookie cutter layouts. If somebody wants something a certain way, we'll try everything we can do to oblige them. And if you notice, the lights are sequenced, and all the lights on the entire vehicle are controlled by the matrix controller. There's no flash patterns set in the lights themselves, like some of the simpler builds where we just set the patterns and then set a master slave and try to make them work out. The software does all the programming. We can program, I don't know how many different hundreds of patterns, and we can also do them in different degrees. If you put them at 0 degrees, they're together. We can go 90 degrees, we can go 180, which makes them flash in patterns. If you notice, this is sort of set up sort of like an X pattern in the back. Everything is synchronized there, except the taillight flashers. They work on their own. And the other neat thing that we did on this one, green is now permitted on certain vehicles, and the bottom 2 we made as the Commander series. And those we can switch off and on. They're not always on, and I think you have to be a supervisor or whatever in order to actually use the green. So that's everything in the rear. It also, the little side windows on both sides flash also. That's slide position 1. Okay, slide position 2 adds a bunch of stuff. It keeps the stuff in the back. It changes the pattern on this. This is called a Citadel, which mounts on the outside underneath the top spoiler. Instead of having something that's hanging inside that when you get in, it's blaring in your face. The Citadel is nice because, number 1, it's really bright. Number 2, when it goes up, you can still see it, but now it's pointing up, but you can still see it from back here, so it's really nice that it does a multi-function thing. You don't have to be blaring. Most of the time, there'll be a light bar put here, which, number 1, you can't put a lot of stuff in if you have a trunk back here. and it's blaring right in your face. As you can see in position 2, it does a lot of different things. The running board lights now are red amber as per customer. That's what he wanted. It turns on the supervisor interior light bar, which is also matrix controlled. Now when I say that, I mean it's controlled with a network cable. You don't have about 50 wires. There's a hot wire and a ground wire, and that's it. The other cable that comes out plugs into the controller, and it's all controlled via network. So it's a lot easier to get wired up. We also have the mirror lights underneath the mirror. As you can see, they're red now. Everything up front is red. Nothing going on right now with the headlights. And a pretty mild pattern. As you can see, it's nothing real drastic. Okay, now we're going to go to slide switch 3, and we put it in drive, and that's when you're chasing somebody, or there's a really big emergency. As you can see, now the headlights will do the wigwags. This particular customer, when they purchased the Explorer, they purchased it with the optional lights that are already in the headlight, and we're able to program those to several different patterns. As you can see, the running board lights turn red and white. It's a more chase-oriented scene right now. Now, if you put it back in park, you see it slows back down again, almost like a cruise mode, pretty much. Okay, we also have a flood mode. So as you can see, the lights on the push bar are dual color. We have them as red, white. They're available up to 4 different colors, but we only needed red and white since this is EMS. So the flood lights up the entire light bar white, and also the push bar all white. And we have the scene mode set up. Now the side lights come on, and if you notice, there's not as much lighting going on with this. These are sort of tamed down. The ones on the side come on, and also in the back lights are also tied into the backup light. Yeah, there's the backup function. So not only does his normal lights come on, but everything else comes on. There's actually more features that this will do. We're probably not going to get to because there's a lot of stuff and it would take forever, but we're trying to do, just to show you, this is a more advanced install other than just a couple of lights that aren't even sequenced. It also does a left and right arrow. There's center out. There's a left arrow, and there's a right arrow. And I don't know if you can tell in the video, but they are extremely bright. Of everything that we built on this build, that Citadel is my favorite. It's new. They just came out with it that will plug into the Code 3 Matrix box, and it is fantastic. It mounted nice, it fit nice, and it's all weatherproof. It's really, really nice. We'll demonstrate the siren. We have several different siren tones in there: wail, yelp, high, low, and a horn. And then we'll show the same. We'll do a wail by itself first, and then we'll hit the low frequency driver so you can hear what it sounds like. Go ahead. That's with the low frequency driver. Do a yelp by itself and then do it with the... Now hit low. And then we also have a manual horn button. There's a few more features on there also, but that should give you the gist of it. So that's pretty much everything on the outside. If you notice, we have 3 antennas on there on the roof, 2 UHF antennas and a VHF antenna. And those are the antennas that the customer requested, the low profile. We could put a whip antenna, we could put whatever, but they run these through car washes, and they don't want everything ripped off. And I think that's about everything for the outside. We wanted to show you a few more things on the inside. Okay, so in the back here, this is where, of course, all the wires come in. They come out of the side. This is the inverter we have in there right now. It runs off the battery. A 1-aught cable runs out to the battery, and it has its own separate 150 amp breaker. This is one of the remotes. This is the VHF remote. It's all Motorola stuff, and it's mounted in the back here also. Remember, there was one in the shelf, and there was no more room on the shelf, so this one is mounted right below it. Then in the front, if you notice from the front console, their main UHF radio was right under the controller that's lit up. This is their second UHF. The third one, it's also a Motorola, but it's one that has everything in the microphone. So there's no separate controller per se. It's all done here. So it's sort of unique. Now it, of course, has its own separate speaker. The Havas box that we have in here is the wide mount, which everybody seems to like the wide one. And there's a speaker in each side, so you don't have a big ugly speaker hanging. The only place we have one is back here, and that's for this, because obviously this doesn't have a speaker and you'd never hear it. This is their main one, so it's on a magnet mount, which they requested. Included in this quote was new laptops, so they're going to be getting some Dell ruggedized, which haven't come in yet. Hopefully they'll be here today, and they'll fit right on the cradle here. This is a Havas cradle. You can move it around, you can angle it, you can do a lot of stuff with it also. It's very heavy. It's mounted on a separate pole mount on the side. And everything is, the Havas stuff looks very heavy duty. And we like it, and they sort of requested it, so that's what's in here. Well, also they wanted a 110 volt outlet here, so we have an outlet mounted on the back here that runs into that inverter. So not only do we have an outlet here, but we also have an outlet in the back. So if they have any equipment that they need plugged in or whatever, they'll have 110 volt. Even if they're not near anywhere, as long as the inverter is running, it converts the 12 volt to 110. Everybody says 120 volts AC, and they can plug right in. We tested it with a lot of different things, and it's fantastic. So if you noticed, we have a landline that goes into the side. We mounted, it's made by a company called Cusmall. A lot of the fire trucks have these. So when you're parked somewhere in the garage and you have an urgent call, how many times have people pulled out with their car being plugged in and rip off the cable, break the whatever? Cusmall makes a lot of really nice products, and that is called an auto eject, and it's a 20 amp one. We always get the 20 amp version. So whenever you turn the ignition key on, it puts a little voltage out, which hits a solenoid, which pops this out, because it's an emergency type situation. Every second counts, and something like that pops right out. We recommended it. The customer agreed that this was a really good thing. We're doing it on both of their vehicles. Also, when this is plugged in, it automatically switches the inverter from the 12 volt mode to the 110 volt mode. So it's not, the inverter no longer is pulling power from your battery. It automatically bypasses it whenever you plug this in. Whenever it pops out, then it automatically switches to the 12 volt cycle. So that's it. I don't think we could put too much more in this vehicle. It has a lot of stuff, but it's really, really nice, really unique. If you have any questions or comments or anything, be sure to put them down below there. And if we can answer anything, we will.